Well, today I'm so delighted to invite and welcome to Lumbers, Gary and Jason. Thank you for coming along. We've got a wonderful lunch to look forward to. And I have to have a small confession, which living in Leicester, for all my life I pretend to Leicester, I'm a Leicester fan. Which obviously for 1 year was quite useful. But I'm not, I am a true blue Chelsea boy, all the way through is Chelsea. And the first thing I've got actually really making me laugh is there's a little picture here.
Oh, yes.
That's my boy.
Oh, wow.
He's now 20.
Oh, my God. I don't wear glasses anymore. I've got contacts for those.
But you've got to sign that across it for
What's
me.
his name?
Freddie. He's now taller than me.
Do I sign it to Freddie?
Yeah, sign it to Freddie, please.
How old is he now?
He's 20. In Australia.
I can tell that by looking at Jason.
Yeah.
I know, of age, right? I mean,
No, he medals for a 3-0 that day.
Did you?
Which was a nice result. And I was lucky, I managed to get a charity auction and I got the Adidas box for the day.
Oh, okay.
And strangely, Kerry Dixon thought I was a stalker because my memory was pretty hopeless, but he was the celeb player who came around the box.
Yes.
And I seem to remember every stat about him. And he looked at me a bit odd because I went, this many caps for England, that many goals, this goals for Chelsea. And he was quite impressed, in fairness. But anyway, I'm delighted to have you both here. You're both actually in the same sort of industry.
Well, we used to work together at Sky Sports, actually. We did a show called You Were on Sky Sports. And then I was moved on to what I was originally brought to Sky. That was to interview the biggest names in sport. And Jason took over doing the show, which he did really well, where we took on the fans. I also lost a bit of interest in the show when that one caller got through who called me a 4-letter word.
yeah.
Which was a bit upsetting because when I saw my boss, he said, "What are you upset about? You are one."
So that was the end of that.
That was the end of that one. So I moved on, and Jason took over. But we stayed good mates, and he's a very good broadcaster.
Oh, it's great. I mean, luckily he's biased, and I'll say that on this, which I'm sure you won't be able to say. And I listen to Chelsea radio on my way home on a Saturday if there's a Chelsea game, or I have it secretly. I try not to let the staff
So
know.
if I don't reveal that you're a Chelsea fan here in Leicester, what type of jewellery can I expect to be
You're looking for a deal.
It's going to be all over social media tomorrow. I've said it already, haven't I? But I've got one quick question before we look at a couple of watches for you. Who's your favourite ever Chelsea player? I'll take
Mickey Droy.
Campbell.
Mickey Droy. So I grew up as a like you, a Chelsea, big Mickey Droy. So when I joined Chelsea as an 11-year-old, and the first thing I wanted to see was Mickey Droy's boots. And I picked these boots up, and they're like canoes. And as a little 11-year-old, they must have felt like
He was huge, wasn't he?
He was a giant. And do you know what? Right? It was years when I didn't meet Mickey until after I'd retired, and I was still starstruck.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Actually, my favourite player was in the same team. It was Mickey Fillery.
Mickey Fillery.
So my granddad lived near the Leicester ground, and I'm a lot older than you two, but my first hero was Arthur Rowley. And the Football League used Brian Moore, myself and Ray Stubbs when they had their centenary, a big dinner, and they brought all these people out, Len Shackleton, all sorts of people, long gone. And Arthur Rowley comes out, and I'm interviewing in front of everyone, and I told him that he was my schoolboy hero, and he looked at me and just walked off the stage.
Well, Ron Harris did that to me. Chopper Harris was always, and we're at a thing, and it just completely. I said, "Oh, you're my hero. Can you sign this?" And literally, he just walked away. I went, "Oh." And Peter Bonetti, I got to know very well, and he was a gentleman and fantastic. But Chopper really upset me. I've got to say, I thought, well,
That's not right, Chopper. Chopper's very friendly. I don't know what was said there.
So I brought one of Chelsea's greatest young players into television. Jimmy Greaves. He started with me in the Midlands here.
Wow.
1980. Yeah. And he stopped drinking 2 years early because he was an alcoholic.
Yes, yeah.
Never drunk again. And when I went to his funeral, bless him, in Essex, he picked the last song to take the coffin out, which was Lonnie Donegan, Have a Drink on Me. Typical Jimmy. He was an incredible player as a youngster with Chelsea.
Up against the time, so I've got to move on from those players. My favourite player of all time.
Yes, we didn't ask you that. Who was that?
As well.
Oh, okay.
Now, I have to say, this is my favourite bit of memorabilia that I had from Chelsea. We used to sell a watch brand in the old days, and a guy called Matthew Yates, who ran middle distance for England, was the manager, was the fitness coach at Chelsea. And he came selling me watches and this, that and the other. And he said, funny enough, I was the fitness coach at Chelsea. I've got something I'm going to give to you. And if you remember, Zola had that game when he put Jamie Carragher on his backside about three times in the corner.
Yes, he did.
And then he lifted up his shirt at the end of it, and it was like one of his last games for us. And he wore that little T-shirt, and I call it a holy grail of Chelsea almost. It's great, and he brought it up to me, and I just had to promise I'd never sell it, as if I would anyway. But it's a great bits of memorabilia always.
Well, I was I'll tell you an interesting story about that, Susan, because I was close to David Beckham. I covered Manchester United in Europe and the league and the cup with Ferguson. I had a great relationship, and I got on really well with this young David Beckham. And one or two charities asked me to get his shirts, and he said, I'll always sign a shirt for you, but I want a name. And I said, well, why does it have to be a name? He said, because I'm fed up with people selling it on eBay. And there was an article in the papers recently about people who send their kids to get autographs and then get them and sell them on.
It's an industry.
And it's funny, enough today we've got a football to put in as a charity raffle for the local charity signed by David. And it was given to us by Tudor Watches, who he's an ambassador for now. So the Tudor Watches are a great watch range.
How much do they retail at?
4,000 or 5,000.
So
quite inexpensive.
Half your fee.
Can I tell you an unusual story about this watch? It's a very sad story. Now, you'll look at this watch and know it's pretty old because it's a Cure.
Oh yeah. Nice.
So, one of the sports I covered was Speedway, and I've got to tell you why I covered Speedway, which I knew absolutely nothing about for ITV, was because some dozy secretary at London Weekend Television got me mixed up with Barry Briggs, who was the world champion. She thought I was Barry Briggs, so she said, you're booked for Saturday at the White City, and I was quite young, so I was at ITV, so I said, yeah, great, what's the fee? Off I went. Anyway, I got very close to all these stars who used to think that I knew a lot about Speedway. So Ollie Olsen, the world champion, would ring me up and say, I've got a problem, and I say, I'll ring you back. So then I'd go and see the motorbike riders that we had, and I'd say, what happens when this, and I'd go back, and Ollie said, oh, thanks, I knew you'd know the answer. So I was bullshitting my way through it, and I got very close to a bloke called Kenny Carter. And at my 40th birthday, my missus got him as a surprise guest. They did a sort of This Is Your Life mock one. And he was sponsored by Tag Heuer, and he gave me that watch. A year later, so that's my 40th, a year later, 1986, I'm flying to Mexico to do the World Cup, and when I get off the plane, ring ITN urgently, which I did. They said, we've got some terrible news for you. Kenny, foolishly and mistakenly, thought his wife, they had 2 young kids, was having an affair, so he shot her dead, then shot himself dead. So for 20 years I couldn't wear that watch, and I suddenly thought, it's lying in the drawer one day, I've got to wear it. But I mean, it's an incredible story.
That is quite an incredible story.
So that's an unusual one, isn't it?
It is unusual. The Hoyers, we've got a couple of our pre-owned, fun enough, downstairs. We do remarkable business with pre-owned. And we've got a couple down there, but that's a story.
The only thing I've had to change is the strap.
The bracelet.
Yeah, the bracelet. It was a leather one originally.
And watches are quite, within your industry, the players love them. I always remember selling many years ago to Robbie Savage.
Robbie John Hayes.
Fine later. And Robbie was great, and he was commentating, and England versus Wales, he just started commentating. I said, Robbie, and I sent him a text, I haven't seen the watch at all.
Are you still filming?
Yeah. And at half time.
So what you should do, sorry to interrupt you, whenever you're speaking in public, never leave your phone on. I insist people don't do that. Apologise.
Man of your experience.
I'm going to start again, anyway.
Wasn't even the wife.
I completely lost my track of where I was.
It was a long story.
Robbie Savage.
Robbie Savage. So at half time, he goes like that, right in front of the camera. And I get a text after the second half. I bet Beep saw it then. Great guy. We've done a lot of watches to a lot of footballers, but there's always some interesting ones. And I just want to touch base on a couple we've got here because they've all got interesting stories. And that's an interesting one. The Leicester owners were remarkably generous to all the players.
Wow.
This is a Roger Dupree, and every single player got one of those as a limited edition. No, not from us, Stanley. Okay. Every player got one as a limited edition for winning the Premiership.
So
that's the Premiership.
Do you know what else he gave them? He gave them a Mercedes-Benz each.
Chelsea did?
No.
Oh, he gave them a BMW car.
Leicester
did,
yeah.
BMW. It was a BMW, the electric car, wasn't it? Yeah. But they gave them a watch for everything, so that's an interesting watch. And I think, talking about football now, you can't not...
Oh, I see that on the back as well.
What make is that, Dominic?
Roger Dupree, but it's got the Leicester emblem on the back. Wow. Limited edition, we're selling that pre-owned from one of the players at the time.
And this one?
And then we've got to just put a bling on somebody's wrist. And Hublot are synonymous with football at the moment. So we
what's
have
that retail at?
That's 32,000. And obviously with the timing and the Hublot sponsorship, etc., it's the football.
If somebody came here and bought that, where would they come from? Would they be a footballer? Would they be a businessman?
Local businessman.
They do buy them.
No, we'd sell it to a local businessman more than anything else. So, the watches it's enormous. And I should say, I know we're going on a little bit. Just going to finish with one last story. We've got a great client who's you'll know, John Brooks, who's the VR lovely fella and become a good friend. And years ago, he was touch judge, Chelsea versus Tottenham. Right. Adebayor must have been, every single person in the crowd could tell he was yards offside. Then put up his flag and he scored, and we lost that day. And ever since then, he gets a Hublot message from me when it's a Chelsea one saying, "Don't forget, you still owe us. You still owe us." But he did that game last season. He was VAR when everybody got sent off. It was 4-3, wasn't it? We had about 3 goals disallowed. It was chaos.
At Spurs?
Yeah,
at Spurs.
Absolutely.
Yes. Jackson scored a hat-trick that day.
That's right.
Yeah, the donkey got sent off.
And he just sent me a message afterwards, because I sent him a message saying, "God, I wouldn't want to be a VAR referee. You've had a nightmare." I said, "But don't worry, everybody's agreeing with every single one of your decisions." He said, "They won't be by the morning."
Isn't that the case? Yeah.
I tell you, one of my favourite referee stories, in the days when you could have a laugh, there used to be a great guy, long gone unfortunately, called Neil Midgley. He was a Football League referee in the old top division. And he was refereeing one match, and these 2 players, I can't remember who they were, one from either side, were giving him so much shtick that eventually he stopped the match, brought them together, and said to them, "As it happens, you're not playing very well yourselves."
Give me some stick, yeah.
But I just got to say thank you for being here today.
No,
we can't wait for you to stand up in front of everybody. And
there's a lot of good stories, Jason.
Well, I'm sitting in right next door to my best man, who's a Spurs supporter, just to wind it up a little.
Is he? Well, he played for Spurs.
Yeah, I know. He played more for Spurs than Chelsea.
Keep it quiet.
That's all right. It's all right.
Yeah.
But thank you for being here.
I mean, it's something, isn't it, to have played Premier League for 2 different clubs and scored the goal of the season, which you'll hear about.
Yeah, the fluke.
You'll hear about it.
It's coming up this weekend because Spurs go to Ipswich this weekend. So
That's a big, I have to say, just quickly on flukes, we decided to stop sponsoring Leicester when we're sponsoring them. And all of a sudden they came to me and said, "Dom, you're going to want to sponsor next season, but we've signed somebody." I went, "No, I've given up." "No, we've signed Dennis Wise." I went, "Well, okay. I'll sign again." So I signed again. And we used to do goal of the season, goal of the month. And I used to win a Breitling watch for the goal of the month.
Wow.
Anyway, I said, if he scores a goal, I don't care what their goal's like, he is getting goal of the month because I'm going to present to him. Got to December, they only scored 1 goal off his backside. So when he crossed it was off Dennis's backside into the bottom, dribbled into the bottom. The worst goal ever. But luckily, it was goal of the month because it was the only goal. So I didn't have to fix it. It was all good.
So, to quote Groucho Marx, if you don't like my principles, I've got others.
Maybe. Guys, thank you very much.
Thank you, looking forward to this.
Yeah, we're looking forward to this.
We're looking forward to it.
You definitely have. I'm not being funny now. You definitely have the best jeweller's shop I've ever been in.
It's enormous.
And I'm trying to keep my wife away. You're a danger to shipping, Dominic, and you've got beautiful jewellery here. Magnificent.
Thanks, Gary.